Hello, I'm going to cover the CS1 Integrated Development Environment, or the CS1 IDE, give you a description about its purpose, why I'm even building it, and a review of the CS1 game engine, which is what the CS1 IDE is supporting. So if I would start off with, first of all, this is a development environment for people learning how to get involved with creative programming. People just starting out with computer science can jump right into this. I will be introducing this to middle school and high school students, meeting them at their level. And what I intend to do is to also extend the lessons to the college level and even graduate and postgraduate level at a future date. So let's just take a look at what we have if we type in bit.ly CS1 remix. If we type in bit.ly CS1 remix and we are signed into glitch.com, it will automatically create for us a remix of the base project for the CS1 game engine. Now, if you look at this base project, look along the left-hand side here, this file explorer, there are plenty of files. And it is primarily for that reason that the IDE is being created, to maintain the focus of the student throughout their development. So without further ado, let's jump into the particular file that means the most when we first start in, at least at this point. It's the .env file. I will have to put an admin key, for example, and I will get rid of this later. I'm just going to put 444. I will delete this project later. And I was going to put database properties. These are things that you would change on each player. They're basically like player statistics, if you will, or they can be other types of IoT device statistics, either players or IoT device statistics. I'm going to just put 999 for the IoT API. Yes, you can connect IoT devices in to this game engine as well. So that's another intention for the program, is to be a nice introduction for students into networking IoT devices. All right, so once I have done this, I can really, without further ado, I can go over into the IDE and do some business. I'm going to go ahead and change the name over here just to illustrate that you can. I'm just going to say, let me just say CS1 game, and nobody has taken it. So I will get that name, CS1 game, and the admin key is 444. Now what you're going to notice here is if I go over here and type in CS1 game, put in the admin key 444, and you should have a more secure password than 444. Again, I will just get rid of this project later. And I go ahead and log in. What I end up with is this login. Now, what I need to do here is actually I resized this earlier. So what we have over here is a client config lesson, and I haven't written out what that lesson plan is going to look like or entails. And then we have this client config file. Now this client config file, if we were to go ahead and look at the source code, and if we go to the source and go to the, over here on the right hand side, go to source, or on the left hand side I should say, I'm sorry, source core config right here. This is that file if I would make it larger here. Here's the file in the actual glitch project. This is the file in the glitch project. And here we are in the current start to the IDE. Here's what it looks like in the IDE, which is another project that's accessing the other glitch project. These are actually both glitch projects. With this set up like this, for example, I could go over here and, for example, it says CS1 Agency Headquarters. I could change this into CS1 Game. And I could change the welcome message over here, for example, and say, welcome to CS1 Game World. Okay, maybe that's what I put. And notice when I changed it over here, this little diskette icon kind of changed its appearance. So if I click on this, it actually saved this file, which is in the source of the other project. It saved it to that other project. Now, those saves will not take effect in the live game, for example, unless first I do a bit of adjustment here. I need to build the source code. Now I can remotely build by clicking on this little wrench icon up here. So I'm going to click on the wrench and it says building remote project. So it takes a while to build. It's actually what it's doing. It's remotely calling to this project to build, and the build system that we're using here is rollup, and it's basically calling the rollup build, and it's building out all of this client source code, and it's going to be placing it into this bundle JS, and it's also going to build a bundle CSS as well, and it's going to build the source map as well. What we're doing in the course of creating this IDE, or what I'm doing in creating this IDE, is removing the necessity of, for example, the student to have to navigate, for example, to the console for the app, go to the console, and then do whatever in the console to run the build from the console and so forth, and then also removing the necessity for them having to kind of navigate through all the source code and wonder what's what. There was a considerable amount of downtime, let's just put it that way, when students were looking around for things. Even though I had fleshed out a bunch of lessons that were identifying specific things that we were going to be working on, nonetheless, there was unnecessary downtime that this IDE should be taking and removing. Okay, now if you can see over here, that's these icons. The build icon is back, so the remote build seems to have completed. What I will be doing soon is I will be putting a launch game button over here in the actual IDE, so I don't have to go back to the actual glitch project for the game. But for right now, I'm going to go to the glitch project for the game. I'm going to go ahead and we'll see what's going on with this. So I'll go ahead and go in here. And so admin, and the admin key is 444. I'll log in.
Welcome to CS1 Game World.
And there it is. It did our little welcome message as we had edited just a little bit ago. Now we can go through this whole, we can talk all about the engine and all the features that are engaged in it. But basically, it's a 3D multiplayer game, and it works very well with VR devices as well, such as the Oculus Quest. You can upgrade characters and so forth. So there's a lot of things we can do. We also kind of mock out the concept of an IoT device here. I made a model right here of this IoT device. I come up to it, click on that. Whoops, get a better vantage point here. So if I click on that light, it actually blinks the LED on this IoT device, which is a model of a popular style of IoT device called an ESP8266 node MCU. And if I had the device connected, it would have actually affected the real device. The actual physical device would have been affected. So that's I want to do that this similar thing for a lot of different IoT circuits. Right now, that's the only one I have as an example. But I can go ahead and close this out. So you can see basically, now over here we're seeing the old information under the CS1 game. Now if I refresh this, I'm not going to see it. I heard the difference, but I'm not going to see it over here unless I literally run refresh on this, which I can. I can go over here and manually run refresh. I don't have, but if I run refresh right there and then go back in here, then we'll see the source code over here. I can just refresh this as well. Now we can see that's what we had edited from the IDE. There's minimal functionality in the IDE at this point, but I just want to get the basic idea for the, underlying even creating the IDE. Down in the future, I plan, it'd be great. I love to add a whole bunch of features that are more commonly associated with game engine IDEs, so, things to manage assets, other types of windows that you can. The nice thing about this, you can already, for example, if I switch to another lesson, it's actually just loading in the AFrame website talking about components. I just started this lesson, so I thought it'd just be convenient for right now to load in that with an AFrame at this point. So yeah. So in terms of, and over here in terms of this editor is, you can maximize it, minimize it. Now I am getting an error here. I literally just realized I have to. Oh, it's because I understand. Yeah. So here's, I was wondering why this wasn't refreshing. It's because since I refreshed, I lost my socket connection to the other project, so I was unable to retrieve the other lesson. Now I literally have to. At this point, I will take care of that and auto detect that in the future. But I'm going to go ahead and just log in. Now, if I switch, for example, to the My Components, it will load this file, which is actually loaded from the other project. Now what had happened here, why it didn't change before, is because whenever I refreshed this project, the server had to reboot. When the server rebooted, it basically disconnected the socket connection between these two. And I didn't build anything in yet to just automatically recover that connection and establish the authentication that I am indeed okay to be editing this. But you can see over here I can have really thorough lessons. Here I'm just using the AFrame site and just having a little introduction up here. But I will in the future as well, I'm not going to have this take up the whole screen, but I will have in the future another, like a little menu in these lessons where students could, example, take quizzes right here in the in this like window. Now they can move these around. You can make this, if they wanted to maximize this, they can. They can maximize that just like that and go back by minimizing it and haven't lost anything. And they could even drag it around if they wanted to reorient it. If they wanted to drag this around like this, they could reorganize it that way. Right now it's not automatically reloading, so I have to kind of trigger a reload that way at this point. but they can kind of change the layout however they want. I'm using golden layout framework for the layout, and I'm using the well, I might as well just show you. I'm using the code mirror for the editor, and I'm using JS Beautify as well to kind of clean up some of the code on the fly. It's traveling across the wire, just making sure it's in good shape before it gets popped into the editor. But that's the basic idea so far. Up here, here's the save button. If I wanted to change this from my first component, for example, I could change this to, blah, blah, blah. Let me just say, okay, red cube. I don't know why. And then over here, I change this color to be red. So F00. Maybe I did that. You can see over here again, the diskette lit up. So I click that. Now it saved it. I guess I could run a rebuild as well. Yeah, I could. However, instead of running a rebuild, if I go over to, let me just show you where that file is over here. So under the source components, then there's my components right here. This is a file called my components. And if I open that up, make it a little larger, you can see it's basically just it's a module, ES6 module that is exporting a default export with an immediately invoked functional expression, and inside of that it has just a starter, and you can see it already changed that right there. You can see it's already changed. Red cube. Now this is part of the source code, so it's not going to affect the game. If I had implemented this component on an entity or something, and it would not have any effect until I have rebuilt the source code, and because it's the bundle up here that gets loaded into the client. So I would have to run that build again from the IDE, and that's done by clicking on the wrench over here. Then I have to wait for it to build because it just triggers again the roll up to build. And then it notifies me back over here that it's finished building by kind of repopulating these two icons. In the meantime, it says building the remote project or whatever. So that's basically it so far. The intention is I can again have these lessons clearly state. If I just drag this again, just lay it out again. So these lessons can clearly state what the student should be doing. I'm even going to put launch the live game button over here, and like a access to some quizzes, so the students could, like Google Forms quizzes, so the students can kind of self-assess their understanding of general concepts throughout the process. That's what I'm up to. If you're interested in kind of getting involved and giving me some ideas about lessons, I've kind of laid some out already that I plan on attempting, but I'm definitely up for hearing your input and speaking to you about it. You take care and have a wonderful, wonderful day.